So here's the second one. He says others have suggested that Jesus' own disciples stole his body from the tomb and then faked his resurrection. There you go. So the kind of, stealing it and faking it. What is
Weekend
this?
at Bernie's type deal.
Yeah. Right. So, of course, here we have to ask what the disciples would have gained from such a deception, right? In other words, why would they be willing to suffer persecution, even die for claims that they knew full well were false, right? I mean, you die for something. You can die for something that's false, but usually you think it's true, and that's why, But if you know something is false, then why in the world would you, stick to your guns and die for it?
And especially at least the 12 or the 70 or, or
the 500.
Depending on what circle you want to talk about there. And not so much just dying for it, but even living for it. They weren't rich. They weren't socialites who were rubbing elbows with the elite and getting benefactors and giant sums of money or prestige by doing this. That they were outcasts. In fact, they were outcasts of outcasts because the Jews were outcasts in this backwater. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Can anything good come out of Jerusalem from a Roman perspective? So much so that Pontius Pilate, pretty much is like, I have to be here because, the last 5 guys failed and now I have to do this. And then, so you have the Jews, and then within that, they're saying, oh, here's the coming Messiah. And we're coming out of the synagogues and saying we don't have to go back to the temple sacrifices. Talk about minority opinions. And so you have to want to be in that. So what's the cause for that mind shift? Right. And it seems like if you read from the Gospels to Acts, a huge shift in character tone in many of these people. Yeah. Especially people like Peter. And he does
confidence,
have flaws too.
Boldness. Yeah.
And then Paul on top of that. So all these things kind of stack on top of each other.
He asked the question, how plausible is it that everyone would go along with the massive con? Yep. So everybody involved would go along with it. Not a single disciple would break ranks and blow the whistle. Yeah, how plausible is that?
There's not a Gospel of Matthias who writes, listen, I was there.
This is the way
it wasn't.
So what about the late converts, as you mentioned, right? James, Jesus's brother, right? Who didn't believe, right? And Paul, obviously, who was the anti-believer, right? Yeah. Who were, these weren't believers before the crucifixion, yet they claimed that they saw Jesus alive as well, right?
Go from killing to believing. There seems to be at least something there to change it. And it wasn't the money. So another theory is that Jesus' body was removed by the Jewish or Roman authorities, but this suggestion makes little sense. There's no reason for that to happen. What would be the reason? Why would they protect the tomb with a stone and a guard and then remove the bodies themselves? It seems like if you want to start creating rumors, especially from those disciples that you wanted to even push down even more so that they wouldn't rile up everything and ruin, the goodness of Herod and his temple, this isn't the way to go. Even if they had moved the body somewhere else, surely they would have whipped it out at as the disciples started claiming that Jesus has risen from the dead and put an end to the story. Yeah. Like, okay, well, here's how we'll really destroy it. We'll steal it. We'll make them think that the resurrection has happened, even though no one quite understands what he means by resurrection. All these times that he's like, you destroy this temple and in 3 days I will rise it again. And they're like, oh, he's talking about that temple right there. Yeah. It's like, nope, that's not what he was talking about. And still they would put out and like, here we go. Here's the body of your alleged God. And so arrest them, kill them all. Be done with it.
Yeah, so that's not what happened. So that theory really doesn't make any sense because they would just produce the body, right? I mean, that's
that would be the point of stealing.